Hi, today we are going to explain the plot of the film Hallam Foe, which was released in 2007.
It's time to fly the nest, Hallam.
Well, let's start with the story.
Hello.
The first scene shows a man named Hallam looking down from the top of a treehouse, watching through his binoculars when a man and a woman named Jenny having fun in the woods. Then Hallam is writing something in his book. Then he takes off his shirt and puts on a wolf-shaped headdress. He comes down from the tower using a rope while hanging and screaming like Tarzan at the two people who are having fun. And Hallam's sudden arrival made the two people angry and stopped their activities, at the end of which Jenny left and said that she was going to see her brother. Then the man was also angry at Hallam and said that it was no joke, after which he left to catch up with Jenny. At the top of the treehouse, Hallam is now wearing his clothes with a jacket on the outside. Then he descends the treehouse and walks towards someone's house, where there are two women in the house. Then Hallam tells one of the younger women his longing. Then the woman says that she hates Hallam while laughing because it's just a joke. The scene changes to a dinner at a restaurant, where Lucy congratulates her father Julius and Verity on their anniversary. Then they enjoy dinner while talking about why Verity chose that restaurant for their anniversary. Then she tells them about her and Julius in the past. After dinner, Lucy drives Hallam back to his treehouse while suggesting to Hallam that he should go back to the pub more often. But Hallam rejects the suggestion by saying that he will go to the pub next time, which makes Lucy look angry and then just drives off in her car. And at night, Hallam peeps at Verity and Julius making out while playing the piano together. And after seeing the romantic scene, he returns to his treehouse and looks at his mother's picture while saying goodnight. The next day, Lucy called out Hallam's name as she was leaving soon, and some of her things had been put in the taxi, but Hallam did not come. It turned out that Hallam was watching Lucy from the roof with his binoculars, so in the end, Lucy said goodbye without meeting Hallam in person. And when Lucy's taxi left, Hallam immediately got out and ran after the taxi, calling out Lucy's name, but Lucy did not notice. Now Hallam is at the top of his treehouse and opens a box. Then soon Verity calls him for lunch via megaphone. And during lunch, Julius and Verity discuss how Hallam has been advised to go to college so that she can get a job. But this is immediately rejected by Hallam. Then Hallam leaves the dining table. Returning home, Hallam overheard a conversation between Julius and Verity about Hallam's apparent dislike for Verity. But Julius denied it, saying that Verity should be patient and that he would discuss the matter with Hallam. Sometime later, Hallam met Julius and asked about Verity's whereabouts. And while they were walking together, Hallam told Julius that he had found his mother's old ship in the loch. He also asked about the incident involving his mother because he felt there was something suspicious. Then Julius explained to Hallam that his mother had taken an excessive dose of sleeping pills before the incident, and Julius apologized. But Hallam was still curious and asked if the incident had really been an accident. Then Julius agreed with the explanation. In the evening, while Hallam was looking for a file, he accidentally heard someone laughing near his treehouse. And after the people left, Hallam immediately went up to his treehouse and found his treehouse scribbled with pylocks, including a picture of his mother. The next day, Hallam took a box down from his treehouse and took it to his room. Not long after, his mobile phone rang, which turned out to be Lucy calling him. Hallam then left his room while talking to Lucy on the phone, while Verity, who saw Hallam leaving, went upstairs to Hallam's room and opened the box in his room with the key that Hallam had left on his bed. And after opening the box, Verity found Hallam's diary. Then she copied a few pages from the diary. After talking to Lucy on the phone, Hallam returned to the edge of the lake and hammered the boat he had found earlier because he found a hole when he turned the boat over. Soon Hallam returned to the treehouse. At that time, Verity came to Hallam and read the contents of Hallam's diary that she had found. Then Hallam was angry with Verity for invading his privacy. Then Verity also threatened Hallam to tell the police. Then Hallam also threatened by showing the hammer that sank his mother's ship because he suspected that it was Verity's work. And Verity's laughing reaction made Hallam angry, so he attacked Verity by strangling her. Verity, who endured the pain, tried to stop Hallam by slowly touching his vital organs. Hallam was carried away, which in the end, they had a little fun. After this incident, Hallam decided to look for a job. On the way, to be precise, while he was on the train, his mobile phone rang, but Hallam had no intention of answering it. He even took out his SIM card and broke it. Then, when he arrived in the city, he just wandered aimlessly until in the evening, when he met a man who offered him a job. And Hallam, not understanding the man's intention, immediately walked away. But it turned out that there were two policemen behind him, who immediately asked Hallam's name. Then Hallam replied that his name was Carl. The policeman thought that Hallam was the same dealer as the man he had just met. Knowing there was a misunderstanding, Hallam immediately ran away from the two policemen who immediately chased him. In the end, Hallam escaped the chase because he climbed a building and climbed to the roof. The next day, from the rooftop, Hallam accidentally saw a woman who looked exactly like his mother, and out of curiosity, he immediately followed the woman until he found out where the woman worked. Hallam also boldly approached the woman with the excuse that he was looking for a job, because he wanted to talk more. Finally, Hallam asked the woman named Kate to help him practice for a job interview because it was the first time for Hallam. After that, Hallam finally worked in the kitchen, and a man named Raymond, who was more experienced, explained many things to Hallam. And after working, Hallam waited for the woman to go home. The woman did not notice his presence. Then Hallam followed her from behind, and when he arrived at the restaurant, Hallam saw the woman meeting a man who was probably her boyfriend. Hallam followed the two people until they separated, and after that, Hallam returned to his cramped apartment and filled it with unused items. The next day, he worked as usual. During a break in the canteen, he had a conversation with Raymond, who worked in the same area as him. But Hallam was more focused on Kate, who came in at that time and talked to several people there. After work, Hallam followed the woman again. He saw her practicing boxing. After that, Hallam went to a flat of Kate's. Then he entered the flat and checked some things there. He also found a wedding photo of Kate wearing a wedding dress with a man while opening a drawer. And while checking, he heard the sound of keys. Then he quickly opened the window and tried to get out of the flat. The woman noticed the open window, but she was not too suspicious. Then Hallam watched her from the window until she fell asleep. The next day, Hallam worked well. He was working while joking with Raymond and accidentally broke a plate which he threw at Raymond. Then Raymond explained that the plate he broke would be charged and explained the cost in detail. With enthusiasm, Hallam broke another plate on purpose. After some of his work was done, Hallam asked Raymond for permission to rest, and Raymond gave him permission. Hallam went to a place inside a large wall clock to look at a distant building where it was the flat of the woman who looked like her mother. After which he came back down and briefly met Alistair, who asked him. Then Hallam explained that he was a kitchen staff, and the man first warned him, then allowed him to return to the kitchen. In the kitchen, he met Kate, who asked about Raymond's whereabouts. Then Hallam told her that Raymond was clearing up the rubbish. The woman also briefly asked how Hallam felt while working, and Hallam replied that he enjoyed it. In the evening, Hallam took some things to the big wall clock. He planned to stay there while he watched Kate's activities in her apartment. And not long after that, he saw a man coming to hug Kate from behind who was none other than Alistair. When he saw Alistair's arrival, Hallam immediately went down and had a good look at Kate and Alistair, who were having fun from the roof of Kate's apartment. He also heard their conversation when they finished having fun about Alistair's wife. The next day, Hallam went to the police station to report the murder of his mother, who allegedly committed suicide. He also informed Verity of the stepmother's statement confessing to his actions, after which he returned to his workplace. At night, Hallam attempted to climb into the large wall clock. It turned out that Alistair noticed Hallam's presence and followed him. When he arrived at the wall clock, Alistair found Hallam watching Kate from a distance with his binoculars. Alistair then threatened Hallam that he would tell Kate about what Hallam was doing from inside the clock. Then Hallam did not want to lose and threatened again that he had also seen Alistair, who already had a wife, having fun with Kate. And Alistair, who was angry, kicked Hallam out and said that Hallam would be fired from his job. The next day, Hallam was at Alistair's house, playing with his children and wife. Then his wife told Alistair that Hallam had told her a secret, and Hallam explained that his arrival was to ask Alistair to sign a file. And after Alistair signing it, Hallam then left. At work, Hallam was called by Kate, who offered Hallam to apply for the porter's job, and Hallam agreed to the offer. And Hallam then moved into the porter's office. He looked neat in his clothes, and he also passed Raymond and greeted each other. In the evening, Alistair was watching Hallam from inside the big wall clock with binoculars. He saw Hallam, who was on the roof of Kate's apartment. When Hallam saw Kate drying her hair, suddenly Alistair came and invited Kate to have fun. Hallam saw all the events from the roof. Then Alistair had looked at Hallam, who was secretly watching them, with a mocking face, which made Hallam upset. After this incident, Hallam returned to the large wall clock. He reread the birthday letter his mother had given him. He also put an earring in his ear. The next day, Kate came to see Hallam and gave him a letter as a birthday greeting. Then Andy, who worked with Hallam, said that Kate was so nice to do this to all the staff there. They also planned to have a drink together later and celebrate Hallam's legal age. After work, they went to a bar and had a drink together, but Andy was not there for long as he was very drunk. So it was left to Kate and Hallam to enjoy the drink, and after many glasses they had, Kate invited Hallam to her flat. And when they arrived at the flat, Kate was dancing as she seduced Hallam. Hallam had refused the invitation on the grounds that he was gay. But eventually they slept together, and when Kate had fallen asleep next to Hallam, Hallam then found his other self peering over the roof and waving at him. In the morning, Hallam came to see Kate and offered Kate to go for a drink or watch a film later, but Kate refused and said that last night's incident should not have happened. Hallam heard that and just left and understood Kate's decision. While working, Andy received a call from the room booker asking Hallam to come to his room, and when he arrived at the room, there was no one there except Kate, who suddenly appeared from behind. They then talked about last night's events, which ended with them sleeping together in the room again. A few days later, Hallam saw Kate interacting with Alistair, and that made him a little jealous, and when he followed Kate, he accidentally saw Alistair, who seemed to have a bad relationship with Kate. He quickly climbed up on the roof to see what was going on. Then he saw that Alistair forced Kate to be with him, and Hallam, who could not bear to hear Kate's screams, immediately entered Kate's apartment and prevented Alistair from hurting Kate. And Kate, who saw Hallam's presence in the apartment, immediately questioned him. Then Alistair happily explained what Hallam had done that made Kate angry and expelled them from the flat one by one. And after that incident, Hallam could not see Kate from a distance again because Kate closed all access so that Hallam would not see her again. And Hallam was also fired from his job. After being unemployed for a long time, Hallam sat in front of Kate's apartment building, and at first Kate ignored Hallam's existence. But finally she told Hallam to come in and asked Hallam to tell her about himself with a naked body. Kate, who heard Hallam's story, was so concerned that she asked Hallam to return to work and also for Hallam to live with her. In the evening, Kate saw all of Hallam's belongings, including her mother's dress, which she volunteered to try on so that Hallam could see her mother's figure, which was similar to Kate's. The next day, they did some of Hallam's usual things. Then, they both went to work together. And at work, Andy told Hallam that his parents were coming to see him. Hallam immediately met them and asked how they could know his whereabouts. Then Kate, hearing of Hallam's parents' arrival, immediately caught up with him and had time to introduce herself to both of Hallam's parents. As they were going to discuss family matters, Kate was asked to leave first. Hallam's father then explained his plan, which required Hallam's approval because Lucy, his sister, had made a decision, and the plan would be carried out if it was approved by his son in accordance with Hallam's mother's will. Hallam firmly rejected the plan, as he still suspected that Verity was manipulating his father. As he left the room, Verity followed Hallam and had an argument related to his mother's death. Hallam, who was upset by Verity's words at that time, immediately left to return to his house. Then, in the house, he saw his father who was sleeping, but Julius noticed Hallam there. Hallam then continued to go to Verity's room. He then covered Verity's mouth and tied her hands, and carried Verity to the lake and drowned her. And a few minutes later, Hallam realized that it was the wrong thing to do, so he immediately returned to save Verity. Then he opened the plaster covering her mouth and also untied Verity's hands. And when he saw Verity, who was unconscious, Hallam immediately gave her artificial respiration so that Verity could breathe again. Julius, who was at the lake, came to Hallam and explained that what happened to his mother was his own mother's wish, and it was all his father's fault for knowing about it but not stopping it immediately. With this explanation, Hallam finally let go of his mother slowly. A few days later, Hallam came to see Kate. They had a conversation about their current relationship, which for some reason had to end.